Joining us, we have the president of the Fire Services Association, Mr. Leo Ramkisoon. Pleasant good evening, sir.
Pleasant good evening.
Yes, indeed. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for, I know you have a hectic schedule. Thank you so much for taking time out to link with us here. You made it quite clear that the chief fire officer is the person responsible for maintaining and procuring fire trucks for the fire service. And of course, many people are asking questions based on the aftermath of last Friday's fire in Santa Cruz, where of course a 98-year-old man, visually impaired, perished at his home. I mean, how long has this been going on? I mean, is there some sort of process where one goes around? I mean, I know you check all the equipment, but don't they check to see which stations have fire tenders and which stations don't?
Well, firstly, let me just express from the outset again our heartfelt sympathy for the loved ones, the relatives, the community of which Mr. Malcolm Diaz, 98-year-old visually impaired gentleman that passed away in that fire last week, Friday on the 8th of September. We can express our condolences. In respect of the conditions and the stations that may not have appliances and so on, and how long it has been occurring, this is not a new issue. It has been occurring for quite some time. You have some stations, inclusive of the Santa Cruz fire station, that has gone without an appliance for years. Woodbrook fire station, similarly circumstanced, and we see Mover and Belmont similarly following in the same pattern. So that the issue of whether an assessment is done to determine whether these stations are without an appliance, that really is not necessary, is nothing new. The administration, all and sundry, is made fully aware. In fact, the association spares no effort in raising these issues with the Minister of National Security and the Chief Fire Officer, because we have a vested interest not only in ensuring that our officers are provided with all the equipment and appliances and everything they need to do their job, but we believe we have a vested interest in serving the public to the best of our ability. The public is our customers, and therefore...
Go ahead.
Yes.
And Mr. Ramkisoon, I respect that. I really honestly respect what you're saying. I know sometimes people may have some misguided emotions, and their anger, of course, may even be directed towards you and your fellow officers. But let's look at the reality of it here. I mean, you don't deal with the procurement issue, but you will raise the issue that, listen, this is what we need. This is what we need to have. We need to get these things. And most importantly, we need to have them in all areas if possible. I mean, looking at the entire scenario, I mean, how do you feel when people say, look, listen, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? Because, I mean, you're there, you're easily accessible. And many people wouldn't understand the fact that, you know, these gentlemen do not make the major decisions. They're not the ones that have to go out there and secure these things. But how does it make you and your colleagues feel when it is you're confronted with this?
Well, I mean, it is very frustrating. It is demotivating and demoralizing. Let me tell you this, right? The Fire Service Association is run based on the contributions, the membership dues. Fire officers pay dues every month out of their own income to keep the association running. And the association is created to represent the terms and conditions of employment, protecting of the terms and conditions of employment of fire officers. But I would tell you, less than 10% of what we advocate for is based on salary. The thing that many members of the public may believe a union's, champion in terms of better salary. Our association have found ourselves spending 90% of our energy and our resources in championing better working conditions to be able to serve the public. We have been championing, we have paid for radio programs and so on pay out our membership dues just to be able to advocate publicly for appliances and equipment, not because we want somehow for equipment to serve ourselves, it is to serve the public. Because when the fire officer reports to work in a community, let's say he's working in Mova and there's no appliance and a fire breaks out in Mova, the community doesn't look upon that station and the members there in a very kind way. The fire officer has to deal with that psychological pressure. So when he has to face a community, when he cannot render assistance, when the public is expecting him to, it places an enormous strain on that fire officer. So officers feel an inward motivation to do their best in the station. So these are the reasons we are pushing for appliances and so on. As it stands right now, we have about at least 5 stations that has no appliance to respond to the public. So that if we get a call in, let's say, the same Santa Cruz, at a station outside the district has to respond, which increases the time frame for response and increases the likelihood for greater damage and possible loss of life and injury.
And this may sound a bit insensitive, but unfortunately, out of what took place last Friday, now this is in the spotlight once again. We read about it, we saw it in Siparia, now happening in Santa Cruz. And what you're saying makes a lot of sense, where people would see you, again, you're easily accessible, and you must feel some sense of pain, knowing that you want to serve, but unfortunately you don't have the resources to go out there and serve. And understand the mindset of the citizens. Listen, I work hard, I pay my taxes, and I expect that if I am trapped in my home, God forbid, and a fire breaks out, there should be some fire tender there to help save my life and that of my family, because I'm paying taxes. So you understand the expectations here. That will bring about a bit of a conflict, because you would have to explain your position, but we as citizens, that's our position. My God, we don't want to get burned up in our homes.
Correct. And let me tell you this, I really hope and pray, sincerely hope and pray, that, your words don't fall to the ground, and that, it really, this incident, as unfortunate, as sad as it is, some good comes out of it. Because I have seen in the many years that I've been in this position, this is the 9th death for the year, the 9th death by fire for the year. We had just in April gone a mother, Kemba Morris, and her daughter, 8-year-old child. They both died in a fire in Siparia. There was no truck at the Siparia station. A truck had to respond from Princestown. There was a similar outcry. The outcry lasted for about 9 days, and then we went back to business as usual. This fire took place on the 8th of September. I am waiting to see what will happen within the next few days, and I'm hoping and praying that it materializes into some action. We have a budget coming up. I am calling for the state, for the Prime Minister, to put together an interministerial committee to plan a way forward in consultation with the Chief Fire Officer and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, put forward a plan, come up with a course of action to address this issue with a degree of immediacy. Otherwise, we just talking, we emotional, but what comes out of it, we back to this.
And you're right. That's not going to help bring those fire tenders there. That's not going to help to create a different environment, a different culture in the fire service, where firemen and firewomen are respected and appreciated for the jobs that they do, rather than getting a bad rap. And that's very unfortunate. You put your lives on the line every time you hear that call. You put your lives on the line. And the last thing that you need to hear from the general public is that you do nothing. You just simply sit on the sideline and allow people to just die. And that is not fair. Go right ahead. Any closing statements you want to make? And I know that there are a lot of things on the list that you guys have been asking for, so go right ahead.
Yeah, well, you would recall that some time ago we had a breakdown of the sea bridge, where we had no ferry to operate properly, and the state had to act, and they had to act as expeditious as possible, and that is because the public outcry lasted, it was sustained, and the state had to act, and they eventually got two fast ferries. And how they did that, they put together an interministerial team that would have done the groundwork and fast-tracked this thing. We have a similar circumstance at this time where you have stations that are without appliances. That is a serious cause for concern, as well as major personal protective equipment shortage. That is a major source of concern. And I am pleading for the state to take a similar approach. It may not have to be on the same scale, but it should be a high-level team that could work with the chief officer to acquire appliances and equipment needed for the fire station.
Go ahead, Leo. I know that's your call. Thank you so much, and we'll be checking in with you periodically. Best of luck to you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, sir.